When you lead from that place of fear, the opposite of what you want to happen happens. When you lead from fear, your team doesn't come to you with questions. When you lead from fear, decisions are made over and over and over again. When you lead from fear, you become a people pleaser. And then at some point in time as a leader, you burn out.
Okay, welcome back to the Rabasha Family Podcast. I have a very, very, very special guest in the building. As we get ready, going live on LinkedIn, I have Sheryl, Raphael, Whitaker. Joy is her CEO. Joy is my CEO. I love that. And helping organizations put joy at the center of the work and unleash the potential that they know that they have. You're an Amazon bestseller, having that passion that it all starts with joy. And as a leadership and transformational expert, most leaders are taught how to perform, but very few are really taught how to lead, because traditional leadership development focuses on optics, not outcomes, because team dynamics are often left to chance, even at the senior level, because high performers are rewarded over functioning until they burn out. And you, as a leadership strategist, executive coach, and founder of Eden Anthony, a leadership consultancy shaped by 2 decades of experience driving transformation inside Fortune 100 and 500 organization. Your work sits at the intersection of executive development, team effectiveness, and the truth most leadership programs ignore. Joy is not a soft skill, it's a strategy. The way you've been able to help ambitious leaders getting growth, transitional reckoning to reconnect with authentic leadership. And what really sets you apart is, really it's depth. You don't offer just scripts, but structure, space, strategy, and the truth spoken plainly, which I personally love. You being able to serve as a curator and board member at TED South Lake, you helping elevate voices, spark ideas. And, it's really a pleasure to have an Amazon bestseller and someone of your status and experience. So thank you so much, Sheryl, for
Wow, Shakira, thank you so much. It always amazes me when I hear like my bio or someone just like riffing off of my experience. I'm like, who are you talking about? So I appreciate it. And thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be here and talk to you today.
No worries at all. So, what do you mean by Joy is my COO? What does that mean?
Marketing is all about storytelling. Dad, when we first started this business, what did you say to me?
I said, yes, we do a podcast.
Why?
Because I want to tell our story.
Why?
Because I know the story builds a legacy.
Builds a legacy. And that is exactly what we do here at ETS Rabasha Media. We market your story on social media so you could build a legacy for those who come after you, to build your business and your personal brand.
Yeah, follow us on our platform. Go on our website, etsrabashamedia.com.
This is about legacy, and it is about showing up on social media every single day, because if you don't show up, your competition will.
I mean, that Joy is my chief operating officer. So when I was thinking, I was like, if I had to give Joy a title in my life at the C-suite level, what would it be? And for a minute there, I was thinking that it was CEO, but then I thought about it, I was like, wait, no, because Joy, and the same way for a chief operating officer, runs everything. It's the operating system, right? And so I always say a chief operating officer, one of the most important roles in an organization. They know where the bodies are buried. They've got all the resources. They're the lifeblood behind the organization. They know exactly what's going on, and they're the foundation. And for me, that's what joy is.
Then how do you define joy? What is joy?
Oh, okay. So I get this question a lot, Jagera, and it's an interesting one because it really is different for each person. What I'm talking about, though, I'll say what it's not, right? I'm not talking about the type of joy that you feel when when it's holiday time or when you see puppies. I'm talking about foundational joy, when you're in integrity and in alignment with yourself. So being in integrity and in alignment with yourself as a foundation of how you show up, how you make decisions, how you innovate, create the spaces you create for other people, the environments that you allow to be. If you are leading from that place of goodness within your belly, that's the kind of joy I'm talking about.
So what's the opposite? What's the problem that people have that's not joy?
Fear. It's fear. So I say, and I mentioned in my book, that fear lost and joy won. And that's because there are a lot of leaders out there who are leading and operating from that place of fear. And it's not necessarily because they want to, although in my book, I talk about a toxic leader that I worked with named Janet, who definitely, I believe that in her case, it was in some kind of strange way giving her joy to lead from that place. She thought it was the only way she can get things done. But I think that for most leaders, they just don't know what else to do. So that fear of being found out, right? That inner critic imposter syndrome, or that fear of if I don't lead or show up in a certain way, my livelihood won't exist. I won't have a team that is going to be able to produce, that's going to be able to innovate and create. But the irony is when you lead from that place of fear, the opposite of what you want to happen happens. When you lead from fear, your team doesn't come to you with questions. When you lead from fear, decisions are made over and over and over again. When you lead from fear, you become a people pleaser, and then at some point in time as a leader, you burn out.
So, like, how does one be able to instill these structures of joy within the organization consistently?
Well, it starts first with having a conversation, because what I'm talking about, Shagira, is not something that is often talked about in the ranks of organizations at the senior executive and C-suite level. I worked at an organization in the past that used to pulse the employee base on a daily basis. As an employee, I can go online on any day on the internet and indicate how I was feeling that day. But at the end of the day, we're talking about engagement, right? They're trying to figure out how are the employees feeling. But then at the same time, you actually have to do something with that information. When I'm talking about joy as an infrastructure and as an operating system, I'm talking about putting joy into the center of an organization's work so that it can unleash the potential that they already know that they have. That is something that we're not doing. We're not even talking about it. So when I decided to go out on my own and thinking through what is it that an organization needs in order to really move forward right now in this day and age of AI disruption, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's like we have to get back to the human being, not as a check the boxes kind of way, but in a real way. It starts with conversation that eventually leads to taking a look at an organization's processes, their work, how their leaders show up, how they develop, what are their, how are they thinking about the people resources, the actual human resources that you have as an organization, and how do you make a difference by thinking about it from a joy perspective, from a joy-centered perspective.
And can you take us a little bit back and explain how you got into this? Where does this joy thing come from? Tell us a little bit of a context backstory. I know I got straight into it
Yeah.
because I was with that intro, such an intro. I had to get straight into
Okay.
the raw juice.
That's
But yeah, let's
okay.
talk about a little bit. Give them
That's
context.
okay. Well, it's funny because when I decided to burn the boats and go forward and do work outside of an organization, and I stood up Eden Anthony, I did a lot of soul searching, thinking back to my own leadership journey. Like, where did I start? And what was it? What was my secret sauce? What made me a standout leader? And I'm not like patting myself on the back or anything, but I know I've been called the Pied Piper, right? People follow. And it's because I see every single solitary person on my team as a human being first. I understand that work needs to get done. I understand that work gets done through people. And so when I was thinking through what my own thought leadership was, what is it that I really stand for? First, to be honest, Shira, I thought about the fact that I'm a happy person. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm a happy leader. And then I realized that that was kind of like a cop out, only because I was afraid, right, of going deeper, recognizing that joy as a word means different things to different people, as I said before. And there's like this faith and spirituality and love and friendship and family and all different kinds of things that are attached to that word. And so I shied away from it. But when I really, really thought about it, I realized that no, I'm not talking about joy from that perspective. It is deeper than happiness, because happiness is circumstantial.
Mm.
I could be happy driving to work. Someone cuts me off. I'm no longer happy, right? It's circumstantial. It's happenstance. But joy is foundational. It's a whole lot deeper than that. It's how I show up every single solitary day, even if I'm not having a good day. And so then once I leaned into that and got comfortable with it myself, I was like so excited. I realized that, like, oh my gosh, I have to tell other people about this and share my perspective. And really, quite honestly, not care if it didn't resonate with everybody, because I knew that there would be enough that would hear me and see it too, even if they weren't necessarily talking about it. And that's been an experience that I've had since I started talking about it on LinkedIn. And then definitely once I put the book out, I was amazed by the reactions that I was getting based upon the concepts that I put into the book and just like my own experiences.
So, like, would you link joy to the present moment?
Yes and no. I love that question. I've been talking about this a lot, and that one I have not heard that question. So let's dig in there for a little bit. No, I would not link it to the present moment, because I would more so link happiness to that. How am I feeling right now talking to you? Right? I'm happy talking to you, Shakira, right? It's great. You and I have a lovely connection and it's all good, right? But let's say that I wasn't enjoying this connection that we're having right now. I'm not enjoying this experience at all. I still have joy, right? Foundationally. I often say that joy is the operating system and happiness is the app, if you're thinking about it in terms of your phone. Okay. You can go from app to app to app to app, and some working, some are not. But my phone, the operating system of my phone, is working all the time in the background, regardless of what's going on with the app.
So, regardless of but would that still? I'm still intrigued though,
Mm.
because in my present moment, no matter what circumstances are happening in my life, I can still remain joyous right here, right now.
Yes. Yep. Deep
Okay.
down in your belly, in integrity and in alignment with yourself, right? Because an organization is made up of people, right? And I would often say that if everybody, let's say you have an organization of 50,000 people, right? And every single solitary person decided on that very day, at that very same time, I'm out. I'm out. How long would it take before that organization ceases to exist? AI, systems, processes, obligations, right? Resources. How long do you think it would take for that organization to stop breathing? Not much time, right? Some people say immediately. Some people say, oh, it'll probably run for like a couple of days, but it wouldn't be long, right? And so that goes to show that we are all human beings in an organization having an experience and creating something together. And so every single solitary person, I believe you lead from every seat, every single solitary person has their own story, their own experiences, their own life. What I'm seeing is if you could find a way to show up every single day, tapped into what makes you you, then you are going to show up for yourself in a certain way. And you're going to create an environment experience for others, especially on the leadership side, for those in your care, to actually enjoy the experience of work. And you will enjoy the experience of leading.
So, like, with like they're touching on such a powerful point there. How do what we've noticed in just throughout that people are struggling with I would even say, yeah, finding good people, finding competent people, finding, it's harder now than ever, employee retention,
Ironically.
ironically, exactly. So I think even someone to, have you within their organization, the amount of money you save just in terms of if we can fix our employee retention,
Hmm.
then think about how much we're losing with that, right? So if we can fix that, it's quite a big save to have you come in. How does one improve the employee retention and add this concept of joy throughout the workplace consistently?
Well, there are a million different ways, but it does, in my opinion, one of the things you have to do is you have to focus on your leadership. You got to focus on the type of environment your leaders are creating in the workplace. But not only that, so Shakira, I put out a newsletter today. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. It's called Joy or Else, right? And one of the things I talked about today, CDI and Gallup poll came out with some studies, some research, 2025, and it's still a concern for 2026. Our leaders are quitting. Leaders are not only quitting, our leaders are quiet quitting. 3 out of 4 leaders are disengaged from their work, and it is dropping, right? That number, when I'm dropping, meaning like the numbers are increasing, the amount of leaders who are actually disengaged. And we've already have employees, the employee base that's disengaged. So you've got disengaged leaders, and then ultimately that leads to a following of the team being disengaged as well. And if that's happening, then who cares what the outcomes are? Nothing is getting done, or the same work is happening over and over and over again. And our leaders are burned out. My article talks specifically about the pleasing that is going on. So, it's a lot for each individual to keep up with. And as a result of that, they are still working, but they're not really there. And I mean, have you ever worked with a disengaged leader? I know I have, and it's it's no fun. It's absolutely no fun, right? So that quiet quitting. I mean, I remember during COVID we talked about quiet quitting, but it's still going on. It's just that right now the epidemic is happening at the leadership level and at all levels too. We're not just talking about, first line or frontline leadership. It's happening at all levels in the organization.
You said disengaged. What does that mean, disengaged?
That means you don't really care. So you're coming in, you're collecting a paycheck, you're doing the minimum, or you're leaning on others to get your work done. Right? And you may be doing that from a place of fear. You may be instilling fear in others, or you might just be working scared yourself, which means you're not creating, you're not innovating, you're not coming up with new ideas, you're not making any decisions, right? And it's like there's no accountability. You're not giving feedback. I mean, the list goes on, right? It's like everything that you really want out of your leader is not happening. It's the opposite.
So then my question then goes, how did that leader get into that position? Is it now also from the top? How does one allow a disengaged leader to lead the
Well, if you were disengaged yourself, you may not even know that those who are in your care are not engaged, right? You have to pay attention. You have to be present. You have to ask questions. Oh, I'm sorry. You also have to make space for people to have conversations, right? You need to be able to do those things. If you're not doing those things, if you're not showing up for your people, and if you're not, and on top of that, if you're not showing up for yourself, nothing gets done. And then you know what happens next? You move out. Leaders, someone has a bright idea and says, you know what, this is not working. And you bring in new leadership. And that new leadership pushes folks out left and right and center. And you bring in your own folks because you've got the answer. But it's a rinse and repeat. And the same thing happens again, over and over and over again. And that's why a lot of organizations say, like, why are we not getting anything done? It's because we're focusing up here, but we're not focusing down here, like where it really matters. Like what are our humans doing? What are our humans doing? How do they feel? Dare we talk about feeling at work? But I made the point before, an organization is a cluster of human beings having an experience. So unless you're willing to pay attention to your humans, you will run on this treadmill forever, and it's a very expensive one.
Focus for, taking care. Once you take care of your people will take care of your customers and your clients, and that's how you're able to earn and keep going.
Yep, absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%. And so my perspective is, if you want to really be human centered, then you are going to be focused on being joy centered, but it starts with you. It starts with you first, right? And then you can work on the others. But as an organization, have the conversation, make the space for those realizations to happen, and then think about what you're actually going to do to create the culture, the kind of culture that you actually want to have. I was talking with a leader the other day, and they were saying, like, they love their culture. And I said, every organization has a culture. Every organization has a culture. It's just, what kind of culture is it? Is it a culture of, respect and engagement and innovation? Or is it one of fear and lack of psychological safety and every person out for themselves? It's a matter of what kind of space you want to create. What kind of experience do you want folks to have?
And what type of role does integrity play in all this?
Integrity is honesty and trust. So when I say that joy is in being in integrity with yourself, that's my definition. You're being honest with yourself. You're being honest, right? And honesty, you can lie to other people, Shigeru, but you cannot lie to yourself. You could try lying to yourself, but when you put that, your head on the pillow at night, you and you both know what's really going down, right? And so it starts there. It starts with joy. It starts with making sure that you are in integrity with yourself. And then once you do that, then it's so much easier to breed that integrity with those that you want trust from and honesty from.
And how do companies usually work with you? What's your capacity? What's like the size? Is it, from small to medium to large? Who exactly do you work with? If I'm a small, medium size, you see most small businesses, let's say, most of the small businesses we see or we work with are from maybe 1 million in revenue all the way up to even, let's say, 75 million in revenue. So obviously
Mm-hmm.
those are different levels, and how, the structures you have with your team and the systems could all be different. In what
Yeah,
capacity do you work with someone, and how?
I would say it's really, it runs from small, medium to large. I find that in those major, I have small, medium, large, and then there's enterprise. 35, 40, 50,000. Those types of organizations, I'm to be honest, I'm not focused on them right now, right? But the small, medium to large, thinking about it from a revenue perspective, because I know some very small employee headcount organizations who are making millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? But if it's from, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10, 15,000, I work with. But it starts with the conversation, right? I love working with those more manageable organizations, because then you can really have an honest conversation with the C-suite and say, like, okay, what is really going on, and what is it that you're really trying to accomplish, and what is it that you're really willing to do in order to get there. I love focusing on the outcome, and then work backwards from there. And so in those size organizations, I find it's much easier to have a conversation, and then also to put some things into place in order to see results. Now, mind you, if you're looking for a quick fix, that's not it. right? Same thing. I mean, we're talking about leadership development here, right? And I've been in, like I said, in large organizations as an employee. And when you're talking about developing people, there's a tail involved in that you have to be willing, you need to be willing to go on that yellow brick road. If you're looking for a quick fix, chances are you're going to be like next year and the year after and the year after, I'm going back for that fix, because to see the results of behavioral change takes time. Doesn't take forever, but it takes time, attention, and focus.
And I mean, with AI now and the way the industry's shaping, like you said, you can see teams with very small headcount, but they're making millions. Do you see a shift happening within the next few years where more of that is happening, where some companies looking like, yeah, okay, Cheryl, this is all fair enough, but I don't need a human in a specific role, like a certain role, anymore, where you just have maybe your humans managing, kind of sets of, for example, the simple AI things that a human can
Mm-hmm.
do. Yeah, what do you think of that? And then how does that change now, where it's like we still need people, but maybe it's just we need less people now instead of having
It
20
might
people.
be, that might be the case. That might be the case. But let's just focus on today for a second. I read something just yesterday, I think, that some organizations are abandoning their AI strategies, abandoning it, spent millions of dollars on AI and are abandoning it and starting from scratch, because I think that, well, let's say generative AI has been around since what, November 2022, somewhere late 2022. And I think there was this excitement in the air that it was going to fix everything. And CEOs are out there saying, like, I could just, oh my gosh, I could just put this system into place, train everybody up, and I'm going to save all this money, right? But again, what's happening now is that people are forgetting the human part. So you're running this race, you're running this AI technology race, and you're forgetting the human who needs to run this race with you, needs to run the race with you. So I do believe that, in the future, I was having a conversation with a colleague the other day who said that they heard that at some point in time, how we work, like our work structure, organizational structure, will significantly change. Most likely not in our lifetime, Shigira, but in, like, for our kids and grandkids and that kind of thing, it will definitely change. But for now, we are stuck in this kind of like matrix kind of thing, in this kind of like ulterior universe where we're trying to figure out how all this is going to come together. And I think that once those organizations who recognize that AI and human being need to run aligned, need to be alignment with each other, I think those are the ones that are going to come out ahead of the game.
This AI thing that you've said, I'll give you a little story. So I was working with a company, and part of what we do is like we speak to the customers, right? Which is very important because I feel just listen to your customers. And for
Mm-hmm.
webinars, we do like when they have a webinar, we let them know, hey, the webinar is in, like you registered for it. And she picked up the phone and she said, thank you so much for calling me. And then I was and then she said, everything now is just AI automated. Like all these things is just AI. It's very rare we're speaking to a human. So the fact that you've called me, and she said, I can see you're not just going through the motions, like you're actually caring in this conversation, which I love. I was like, you're see, so as much as AI is coming here and we can use it efficiently, and she even said, she was like, the one thing about your webinar was like, even though it was pre-recorded, it was still a human in it. It
Yeah, it's still
still
a
felt
human.
real than all these other people. So it's interesting how you're saying a lot of companies now are abandoning it. Even like, for example, with me, I'll use ChatGPT, but usually I do voice messages, but I'll like just use my transcript from my voice because everyone is doing it. And so I know if you read mine with my voice, it doesn't sound like it's ChatGPT because I remove it's just me. So
It's just
yeah,
you.
we're seeing that trend of because there's so much of AI now. I think it's still, of course, you can use it very good in a good way, but
Oh, of course.
yeah, missing that human connection that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I love AI. All right, I love ChatGPT. Claude is my bestie. You know what I mean? I'm like, I love it because it just allows me to go faster. I can brainstorm with it, right? And now that it's able to, like, Claude works in Excel. I can take information and it'll shoot out in 2 seconds rather than me trying to figure out pivot tables. You know what I mean? So it's like, so in those kind of ways, I think it's amazing. But yes, I think also because we can't always trust what we see anymore.
Yeah.
One of I have a live morning show that started. We kicked off last week, right, and it's going every Wednesday at 8:30. My mentor Keith Lewis, he's the one who started the Mornings in the Lab network. He said to me the other day that now we have to trust our gut. Right? We can't always trust what you see. You can't always trust what you hear. You have to not trust your gut. And so this is the reason why I love that we're doing having this conversation live. It's a reason why I decided to do a live morning show as opposed to a podcast, because I do believe, I understand Keith's vision, that people are going to crave more and more conversation and experiences that they know are real as our AI world continues to grow. You're going to
even
find
even
joy in that.
Yeah, even when people see this, like, yeah, it's the real. Sometimes even just not so much edited and all those things. It's really powerful. But I think also even
Mhm.
with your live show, what's powerful about it is you do it live and you're amazing. Then you can still turn it into a podcast. That's the awesome thing
Yeah.
about it, right? Like,
Yes.
well, I'll turn this. This will go into YouTube and Spotify later on for people who didn't have time. So you
Yes.
can still do that.
Absolutely. And I'm having so much fun because I have an AI cast, right? So it's
Yeah, yeah.
me. I have an AI cast. Yes. So it's me and my guest. But I also have two AI cast members who will weigh in, share their thoughts on something that we talked about, or tee up the next topic or segment. So their names are Beatrice and Atlas. And Beatrice, I talk about Beatrice a lot in my work. She is my inner critic. She is a huge, beautiful, very bossy and obnoxious elephant in a pink tutu. And she's the one who tries to protect me and keep me small. And then there's Atlas. Atlas is strong, he's handsome, and he is a calm, grounded voice. He's my voice telling me, no, 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 don't listen to Beatrice. You know what you're doing. Stay strong, keep going. And so Beatrice and Atlas, they argue a little bit. I'll send you a clip afterwards so you can check them out. But
Please,
it's a lot of
yeah.
fun. It's just a different way combining the real experience of us having conversation, but then also having some fun with AI at the same time because it's 2026.
Yes, I've never heard of that. That's actually an AI cast. That's actually smart. That's combining the two, right, of the human and the AI. That's so genius.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's all the brainchild of Keith Lewis and the Mornings in the Lab network and his show, which is called Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and Friends. He's got a huge AI cast, and these folks are cool as hell. And it's fun. It just makes it fun. It's entertaining, and we learn when we're entertained, right? Our brain relaxes, and we take information in.
I love that so much. And what do you see the next 10 years looks like for you? What's your vision?
Oh my goodness. What does the next 10 years look like? My dream is to be able to have a significant impact on organizations, Shigeru. They're talking about joy and even love and the human experience in work is expected and it's normalized. It's the human experience at work is normalized. And for me, that's what drives me. That's what drives my energy and my focus in this work, because if I can have even just a small part of that conversation becoming broader, I can close my eyes at the end and say, like, I did good work.
I love it. And I can see the passion brimming through your energy, your spirit, and yeah, continue to stay joyous throughout what you're doing and seeing that come out into the world.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
and we'll make sure people get your book. So I like to play a game, and I will say a word, and then for you, whatever word comes to your mind. So I'll say a word, and whatever word comes to your mind, you say it, and then I can get you to explain it. Okay?
Okay.
CEO. What do you think of when you think CEO? First word.
In charge.
In charge. Explain.
Well, it's funny because you said that word, and I'm a CEO, right? I'm founder and CEO of Eden Anthony. But yet I'm so engaged and still like so in the trenches with the organizations that when I hear CEO, I immediately think like CEO, Fortune 100, 500 organization. And so CEO for me, like boutique firm owner, in charge. CEO, 50,000, dare I say, out of touch.
Joy.
Cookies. Be hungry. But do you think I still, even though I talk about joy as being the infrastructure, operating system, all that, still that word, I think about things that bring me joy. And I love cookies, especially when they're warm. Chocolate chip, if you're curious as to what flavor.
Awesome. I love it. Resilience.
Strength. And that's because when you go through changes, you are building a muscle, and that takes a whole lot of strength to be able to do that.
Passion.
Love. And that's because things that I'm passionate about, I love.
Workplace.
Oh, what's a word that comes to mind? Workplace. This is a tough one since I'm a corporate escapee. Well, you know what the word that comes to mind when I hear the word workplace is tight. And I say the word tight because I'm thinking about organizations. And I know that there are many people out there right now who don't feel free. Don't feel free to speak. Don't feel free to feel. Don't feel free to be who they are. They don't feel safe. And all of that just gives me a sense of tightness. I want to change that.
Yeah, I can see you will. Human resources, more as the department. When you think of
Human resources. One word that comes to mind when I think of human resources: confused. I was talking to somebody today how we need to put the human back in human resources. When I started working, it used to be called personnel, right? And then they're like, oh no, we're talking about human resources. But yeah, I think there are a lot of HR shops out there who are focused on the wrong things. So, and I want to honor them and say that they're just confused and they need to get straight, figure it out.
Transformational leadership.
Air.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I hear you say transformational leadership, it's an opportunity to breathe new air and life into how we as a society lead, no matter what country you're from. By the way, yeah, it's not just a US thing. This is a global thing. Right? So fresh air, that's 2 words. So air.
I love it. And I want to ask you, we mentioned something a little bit earlier, intuition and your gut. Can your intuition ever lead you wrong? Can it ever be wrong?
Can your intuition ever lead you wrong? Oh my gosh, you're asking the wrong person. So I have this thing here, okay? They're called love pills, right? It's by my friend, a really good friend of mine. Her name is Kristen Crockett. She's an amazing coach and transformational expert herself. And it says, this love pill says, I trust my vibes. And so, no, I believe for me, my intuition is not wrong. But that also comes with learning to trust your intuition. There's a strong intuition that is like, And then there's the other kind, which is just kind of like what you want it to be. But there are a lot of things that have happened in my life, and I know from conversations with many people that it's like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew if I'd only listened, right? So yeah, just talking it out loud. That's a great question, Shakira. For myself, I believe that my intuition's always right.
It's an interesting one. You know why? Because it's true. There's certain things when you feel it and you ignore it, it always goes, and it's like, man, I felt this, right? So those ones I've always learned to listen to those ones. But there's other
Mm-hmm.
ones where sometimes I might feel it's my intuition or my gut, but I don't know, is it like, it could be, like, because there's those situations, that there's ones where it's like, then I'll do something, and then what I do, it's not like, oh, I felt like I went against my gut, but then maybe
Mm-hmm.
things don't happen the way I want them to. But then is maybe that was supposed to happen, because when you get there, you learn something, and then so it's like, is it my intuition? Maybe I could do this, but then like the result could be maybe bad, but it's not really bad because you might see it as bad at the time, but then later on, it's just something that helped you along the way. So do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And sometimes you just won't know, right? You just won't know. Like, for example, I was driving home from the mall the other day, and I always go the same way. I always go the same way, right? And then one day, this last time, something my gut just said, Don't go that way." And no rhyme or reason, don't go that way. And then I didn't. I went another way, right? Ignore my GPS or whatever, because I'm always looking for traffic. Ignore my GPS, and I just went a different way home. Now, did something happen on the road? I have no idea.
It could
Don't
have.
care. Could have. Could have if I went that way. Maybe I would be the one that would have been the catalyst for something. But there was no rhyme or reason to it, Shigera. I just listened,
You just listened.
right? I
Wow.
just listened. I just listened. I just
Because
listened.
your mind easily could have, you heard that, but like, wait, why is my mind, I always go this way? Like, did it, and some, like, honestly, like, that's a very powerful thing you just said, because it's true. You could have easily said, you know what? Like, I always go this way. And maybe some, like you said, it's none of your business, but yes, you listen. And there
Yeah.
was a reason why, there is a specific reason why your intuition, out of all the neurons that just, you're used to doing this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
out of all the, times you've went that way, there was a reason why something in your thing said, go that way.
Go that way. Now, really important, because we are talking before about Beatrice, right? And the inner critic. You have to be able to recognize when you're just playing small and when it's fear talking. And fear is not intuition, right? It's coming from a different place, right? Because a lot of times Beatrice will just try to, like, she's scared for you. She's trying to protect you, right? And in that protection, you shrink. That's different from intuition. So it's like, should I do this podcast with Shakira? Oh, I don't know. It's going to be live. I don't know, but it's got a cool accent. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, but if it's live, that makes me nervous. Still, even though I have a live show, right? That's Beatrice talking, right? But my intuition said, he's a cool dude. Go out there and have a great conversation. I listened to that instead.
Yeah, I like how you said that. It's, you got to listen to when fear's talking. How do you know when it's fear?
Mm. Well, it's practice. It's being in, I keep saying about having conversations, but having conversation with yourself, right? So you sit down with yourself and say, there's something I need to do, right? But is fear driving that decision or that hesitation, or is it me? Is it intuition? You know. So, but you, as you do it more and more and you practice, you just start to, like, really, really get good at listening to yourself. You get just I don't know how to explain it. It's hard, but that's what comes to mind, Shigera. You just get, and journal, right? Because when I journal, things come out, right? So if I said, like, what's one decision that I'm hesitating making because I'm afraid, and I write that down. And if you're not journaling, maybe you're looking yourself in the mirror, maybe just having a conversation with yourself, maybe you're meditating on it, whatever. But when you answer those questions for yourself and you're honest with yourself, like, oh, damn, I'm just being afraid. And I may still not do it, but I love to say, do it anyway, girl. Do it anyway.
I love that. And I think, one thing I'll even take away from this podcast is, the conversations I have with myself if I'm doing something, then I listen and say, are you saying this out of fear, or are you saying this out of, that intuition? And I think that's just something to always kind of wait a minute, Sujira, that when I hear the voice, or there's an opportunity that comes, or just something, why am I making this decision? Is it out of fear, which is maybe even the lack, the anxiety, the worry, or am I
Yes.
making, like, would I be making this decision if I'm exactly where I am that person now?
Yes. Yes.
Which I
And I
think,
also ask myself sometimes, like, instead, I trick myself, hey, what would you do if you weren't afraid? So I'm just going to assume I'm afraid. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Oh, if I wasn't afraid, I would totally do it. Okay. Now we know you're afraid. So if you weren't afraid, you said you would do it. So don't be afraid and do it, right? It's like, you ever see like the heads or tails? Like, you have a coin, it's like, all right, hey, heads, you're going to move, tails, you're going to stay. And like instinctively in your gut, you're like, you already know what you're hoping it will be, right? So,
I love it. I'll leave you with this last question.
yes, sir.
How do you close ties with certain people who could be close to you, like your family, but there's no alignment? You may see, okay, I'm on this path. There's no alignment into who we are, even though maybe your family or something. But even if I may kind of cut you off from certain aspects of my life, just because I need to be around visionaries, I need to be around people who are exactly like me. That's the only way I'm going to get to where I'm going. Like, I can't have any liabilities around me, but at the same time, still have and operate from a sense of like love, and out of the judgment that will sometimes comes in your mind when you may think of another person. How do you mix that balance of also knowing that time is valuable, and if this is the last time I see this person, would I be happy with it? But at the same time, it's like I have to stay on this pathway and in my
Mm-hmm.
environment, and I just can't have liabilities around me. And maybe sometimes the closest people to you, if you're not careful, you could be carrying that liability.
So funny you're bringing this up, because my husband, his name is Dwayne. He's a life coach, realtor, and we talk about this all the time, because you can love family, right? But sometimes there's certain parts, certain members of your family. You don't get to choose your family, first of all, right? Your family's your family. And you can love, but that doesn't mean, just because I love you, doesn't mean that you need to be a part of my space all the time, right? And I mean, fortunately for me, I don't have anyone in my family that I feel like, okay, you're dragging me down, and holding me back from where I need to go. But certainly in my life, I mean, there have been friends along the way and other relationships that it's just clear that we're not going in the same direction. Or somebody like me, Shagira, who's always been, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I can easily shift my focus to this person and then lose myself. And then I'm no longer, my definition of joy, I'm no longer in alignment or in integrity with myself if I'm so focused on you. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but what comes to my mind is, you just have to love yourself more, right? You have to love yourself more. And it's just like the oxygen mask. If I take care of myself, then I'm going to be able to be in a position to take care of those who I love. If I give all of my energy to this person, I'm not helping them and I'm
Mm.
not helping me, right?
Cheryl, I want to
Good.
thank you so much for your time today. I told you this was going to be fun, right?
Oh, I had so much fun. I had so much fun. I was watching your face and I was like, okay, he's thinking that stuff in there. So I'm glad that you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did.
I did so much. I did so much, and I learned so much as well. That's why I was writing things down. So, and I'm sure the audience is, and this will be, and we'll get everyone on YouTube, Spotify to be able to purchase your book. Down below in the description. I think that's
Thank
quite
you.
powerful for people to really see, a leadership transformational expert like yourself, and yeah, even that you have your live talk show. So yes, please guys, make
Yes.
sure to go find your joy. And is there anything you want to leave us before we leave?
Well, it starts with joy, where you will find your joy. No, just really just thank you. I really, really appreciate, your time and the space to have this conversation. And I'm just looking forward to seeing all the things that you're doing out there in the world, Shagera. And I'm happy to be running this race with you.
Thank
So
you so much.
thank
Thank
you.
you. And seeing how cool this was, like I said, later on we can think about doing something like a webinar like this, like kind of me still ask, kind of still like I've always had the vision, which I'm doing now actually with like other people. Same thing, like kind of doing a podcast, but a webinar where it's like we have people live come in and like, I can ask questions, like I'm asking questions to you, and then it's interactive. Other people, imagine, there's other people in here and talking, and it's a
Yeah,
way, and then it's like, you know what I mean? It's I
yeah.
see it the way we did this
You see it.
podcast.
You see it, right? People
Yeah,
are definitely interested. People are like we said before. People are very interested in getting back to real conversation, and so I just think it takes us visionaries just thinking about ways to make that happen. It's going to make all the difference.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll keep in touch. Thank you so much,
Yes, for
Cheryl.
sure.
I
Thank
appreciate
you,
you.
Shigeru. All right. Appreciate you too, my friend.
Hey, what's wrong? Bro, I'm stressed out. I'm running my business. I've got to serve my customers, but I need more customers coming in. I can't keep relying on word of mouth. Why don't you just use ETS Rabasha Media? Who? Well, with AI now, what they do is they go in, get your perfect clients, bring them in front of you. So all I got to do is run my business and he brings me opportunities. Think about it. You speak to 3,000 of your ideal customers, convert 1% of that 3,000. That's 30 people. 30 people in a room with you. Can you convert that? Of course I'll close them. I'm good at what I do. I just don't have time to be going and looking for my perfect client. Focus on what you love doing and let them bring you customers. When you win, they win, commission, ching. Sujiro Rubasha, huh? Yeah, Sujiro Rubasha. Go and Google them, man. Come on, take it to the bank.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're going to love that one.